Royal truth breaks open the 60-year-old in Fazza's life. Poetry. She walks through the quiet corridors of memory, a figure wrapped in the soft dusk of forgotten years. Her steps gentle like fading twilight, her breath drifting like warm desert wind, and in the silence she carries a truth, long hidden behind royal walls, a truth that trembles when spoken and glows when remembered. She is 60 in the count of years, but timeless in the weight of her presence. An older soul, soft-aged, carved by seasons of sun and sorrow, yet she holds a radiance, a flame that refuses to dim, a light that once touched the heart of the prince and left a mark that no night ever erased. Fazza remembers her, not in the echo of scandal, not in the murmur of watchers, but in the whisper of a heartbeat, the quiet way she shaped him, the gentle way she held his storms, the tender way she read his silence, as if his soul were an open script, only she could interpret. She was not meant to be seen, not meant to be spoken, not meant to be known. Yet destiny threads its own tale, and every hidden name finds its hour. Every buried truth returns with dawn. Every silent love finds wings. When the heart aches long enough, she enters the scene again, not with royal entry, not with ceremony, not with golden carriages, but with the grace of a memory that refuses to fade. The calm of an older woman who has lived enough to understand the fragile weight of love, the quiet power of patience, the meaning of devotion without demand. She once held his poetry in her palms and read him lines he had not written, words he had not spoken, dreams he had not dared to confess. For she knew how to see beyond the walls he built, how to hear the truth beneath his voice, how to untangle storms that even he could not name. He called her the desert lantern, the one who walked before him, showing ways he would later follow, guiding paths he had not yet recognized. And in her presence he found a rare peace, the kind that stays even after goodbye. But goodbye came, as it always does. Quiet, heavy, inevitable. The kind of goodbye that does not break in one moment, but cracks slowly over years. Yet even distance cannot erase a truth once felt. Even time cannot steal a bond once lived. Now the royal truth breaks open. The story returns from the shadows, and the world tries to understand who she was, why she mattered, why her name still glows in the corners of his verses, why her age never dimmed her grace, and why the Prince of Dubai once found refuge in a woman, 60 in age, eternal in spirit. She did not seek a crown. She did not ask for glory. She did not claim a throne. Her kingdom was the quiet pulse of his heart. Her reign was the brief season she held him. Her legacy is the echo that still calls his name in the chambers of memory and in the lines of poetry he writes, even today. She returns not in footsteps but in feeling, a soft wave of memory rising through royal silence, touching moments he thought he had buried. For nothing truly disappears. When the heart once held it with devotion, she was older, wiser, quieter. Yet she carried a strength deeper than storms, a strength he once leaned on, a strength he still honors, though he speaks her name only inside, where no one can steal it, where no echo can betray it. The royal halls speak of many stories, but none dare tell hers. None dare whisper the tale of a 60-year-old heart that once beat beside his, steady, certain, fearless. In a world where love was guarded like treasure and truth walked softly, afraid to be heard, he remembers her laughter, dusty warm like the desert night, a sound that healed wounds he did not admit, a melody that shaped his courage and taught him tenderness, the kind of tenderness rare in palaces, the kind often lost to duty, but kept alive by love. She taught him to see beyond gold, beyond crowns and titles, beyond the endless eyes watching. She showed him the world inside his own soul, the world he kept hidden, the world he feared to reveal. She told him once that the heart is a secret oasis, and only those who walk gently will find the water. He never forgot, not even today. When years have turned old stories into ash, yet the embers still glow, soft and loyal, waiting for him to notice. Sometimes he sits alone in the royal garden, shadows stretching across marble paths, and he feels her hand, not in touch, but in memory, guiding his thoughts, steadying his breath, reminding him of the boy he used to be. Before the weight of the world grew heavy, he wonders where she is, how she lives, if she still gazes at the same moon, the one he once compared to her calm glow, the one that followed them during quiet walks, those secret evenings when truth dared to breathe, when time seemed to pause, honoring their boundless connection. She is 60 now, walking her own road, carrying her own battles, but her spirit remains woven into him, into his choices, into his poetry, into his quiet moments. When the prince steps away and the man remains, people speak of his public life, his duties, his bravery, but very few know the woman who shaped the softness beneath, the tenderness that writes itself through his verses, the patience that blooms in his voice, the depth that makes his silence powerful. For she planted seeds in him, not of romance alone, but of wisdom, resilience, compassion, seeds that grew in places unseen, and even he cannot deny their roots. The world asks about his future, his plans, his legacy, but the truth of the older woman rests like a hidden jewel, glittering softly behind each decision, each dream, each quiet breath, a reminder that love does not vanish. It transforms, it lives in memory, it lives in choices, it lives in the soul long after footsteps fade. Now the final veil begins to lift, the quiet truth rising like dawn over long-kept shadows, and the story of the 60-year-old woman in his life unfolds with the softness of aged silk, fragile yet unbroken, touched by time yet glowing with its own gentle fire. She was never meant for the palace stage, never meant for the spotlight, never meant for the noise of public. Now the final veil. In her presence he had learned the art of stillness, the art of listening, the art of seeing beyond illusions. She taught him to value the quiet places of himself, the corners where truth slept, the spaces where courage waited, the wounds he had buried, the dreams he had denied. She nurtured his spirit like a gardener of hearts, watering the hopes he hid, cutting away the fears he masked, letting him bloom when he thought he could not. And he became the man the world admires, because she once believed he could be. Years have passed. Seasons have shifted. Destinies have unfolded. But her influence moves through him, like wind through open dunes, soft, powerful, unseen, yet undeniable. She is 60, and the world calls her older, but he calls her eternal. For age cannot hold a soul that lived with such depth, nor can time erase the mark of a woman who loved not for story, not for name, not for throne, but for the simple truth of what she saw in him. He remembers how she walked beside him, slow measured steps, her eyes carrying storms she had weathered, and secrets she never spoke aloud, yet he understood them all, without a single word, for their connection lived beyond speech, beyond touch, beyond time. There are nights when he dreams of her, not of romance alone, but of wisdom, of guidance, of the soft lessons she etched into his bones, lessons of humility, of empathy, of seeing the world with softer eyes, of holding pain with gentle hands, of loving without needing to possess. She was the mirror he never found again, the mirror that showed him not who he was, but who he could become, and he carries that reflection still. In every choice, in every verse, in every silent prayer whispered to the desert sky. People ask why his poetry feels different, why his words sink deeper than royal stories, why his lines carry a sorrow that feels lived, a tenderness that feels earned, a wisdom that feels ancient. And the answer lives in the memory he guards, the memory of an older woman whose love shaped him, whose presence steadied him, whose departure carved a hollow he learned to fill with purpose. He writes for her sometimes, not openly, not boldly, but quietly, letting his heart speak in metaphors, in dunes and stars, in horses and horizons, each line hiding her, each verse honoring her, each silence carrying her name without sound. Now the royal truth stands open, soft, unashamed, a truth not meant for gossip, but for remembrance. For in the story of a prince, there lies the touch of a woman, 60 in years, infinite in impact, a woman whose legacy lives not in public history, but in the private heart she once held. And so the tale ends, not with farewell, but with gratitude. For love like this never ends. It simply transforms into light, into memory, into the quiet strength that guides him forward even today.